Welcome to the Great People Show, your guide to greatness, your GPS to excellence. Here's your host, J.J. White.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Great People Show. I am your host, J.J. White, and of course, in the studio with us this morning is Kelsey. Good morning, Kelsey.
Good morning.
And if you're noticing anything special about me this morning, I've been battling a head cold, and so far, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to my radio voice, because today is Barry White Day. We do share the same last name. But in all seriousness, I'm really excited about today's show. I have never seen a social media response to a topic we have done like I have this week. What did you notice about that, Kelsey?
It blew up very quickly.
It blew up.
Yes. I remember you had posted it, and I went and looked at it an hour later, and you had like 90 comments on it. And I was like, okay.
We totally blew up the internet.
It's like, all right, this is a good topic. This is going to be a good show.
Oh, it's going to be a great show. And I think it strikes a chord, because today we're talking about regrets. And the big topic on Facebook was, well, at first we positioned it as, and LinkedIn and Twitter, is if you have regrets, what are they? And it just blew up. I mean, so many people, 95% listed their regrets, and we're going to cover some of those later. There was a very, very small piece of the population that said, I have no regrets. So the next night we went with, do you even believe in regrets?
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be an amazing show for you to call into today, because clearly people want to share some of those regrets, or their opinion on should you even have regrets. And we want to talk to you about that. 804-454-1366. You can call the show anytime. And I went into the show feeling like one should never have regrets. I used to have regrets. It used to be something that I really let get to me. Missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Missed chances with loved ones that's passed. And I just realized it just completely took over my thoughts. So here I was and am, years later, getting myself to the point where I just don't really have regrets, because I truly felt everything I've been through has defined who I am today. But I've changed my mind. And you'll know why by the time the show is over. Kelsey, do you have regrets?
Well, I feel like I was kind of the same way, where you kind of like, I'll mull over it for a few days, or maybe if it's something really big, like maybe a few weeks. But then I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. It's over now.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
No dwelling.
Move on. Yep.
Yeah.
Don't dwell on it.
Yep. Are you going to let us hear some of your regrets that you've had in the past?
Maybe.
Meaning not right now. Maybe later. Okay, fair enough. As I was looking at my own life, I looked at these regrets as either what I did that I wish I hadn't, and what I didn't do and should have. You know, they're all around actionable behaviors that I was engaged in. Like, I really regret saying that to that person or making that decision. To your point, Kelsey, you can't rewind time and take anything back.
Mm-hmm. So just let it go.
In all the social media response we received, vast majority was not a regret doing something. It was a regret not doing something. And I think that is the most powerful regret to learn from, is as long as you're still on this earth, the clock has not ran out yet.
Mm-hmm.
We had people talking about, I regret going to school. I regret taking piano lessons. Go sign up for piano lessons. I mean, go for it. It doesn't matter. Our friend David Saunders, who joined the show last week, which I think he's watching us on Facebook Live right now,
Mm-hmm.
he took piano lessons. Now, he's a young guy, right? He's a young filly, but, So to call into the show and to share with us your thoughts on regrets, or maybe you just want to tell us about some of your regrets or the fact that you don't have any regrets, and here's why, 804-454-1366. I made a list of top regrets that I either saw, read, heard, experienced myself at some point in my life. It's a long list. I have such a long list of regrets. I actually stopped. I could have kept going with this, and I was like, maybe counterproductive on the show to say, do you believe in regrets? Here's 55 that we found. So
we need to put a positive
So in
twist on
case
it.
you don't think you have regrets, I've got a nice list to choose from. Maybe if someone read it, be like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. Yeah, you're right. I have regrets. In no particular order, but I did try to prioritize some of these. I didn't go back and get all fancy with, oh, this is more of a regret than another one. But as I read this list, I was like, wow, this is really thought-provoking for everyone here today. So while the show topic is in the past, regrets that we've had, the point of today's show is to engage in a thought or conversation with yourself, which I have those all the time, about what am I doing today that I will not regret later?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the success factor here today. What am I doing or not doing today that I may regret later? I really don't care if you believe in regrets or not. I really don't. Because in 5, 10, 15 years from now, or maybe just by the end of this year, you don't want to be in a situation where you could have, should have, would have, and didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Number one on this list, but no particular order, working so much at the expense of family and friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in for a minute. Working so much at the expense of family and friendships. Folks, we're talking about time. We're talking about time. Never regret the time that you didn't spend with your family. You'll never get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Those longtime listeners of this show know that I have 2 small children, and I cherish that time. I cherish that time with them. I never want to be in a situation where I will regret spending that time with them. So that's a very powerful one. Number 2, turned off my phone more or just left it at home. Woo!
Yeah.
Or just take a mallet to it. It might be the only thing. That may be the only step you have. Put it in a compactor. We're going to have a whole show on technology at some point. We do have a special guest in the studio. I don't know if he'll play along with us later, but we have a big technology guy in the show or in the studio. Maybe not on the show. He's looking around for that person. He knows who I'm talking about. We'll get him on K2's mic if we have to. Couple more before we go to our first break. Worrying about what others thought about me so much. I say this so often, I don't even know if I've said it on this show. When you're in your teens and your 20s, you really worry about what people think about you.
Yes.
When you get into your 30s in your 40s, you stop worrying about what people think about you. And when you get to be 50 and above, you realize they were never thinking about you to begin with. Okay. Don't regret changing who you are to please other people because you're afraid of how they're going to look at you, how they're going to judge you, how they're going to think of you. Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th one, not having enough confidence in myself. I mean, I think we can all look back in time and say, what was I so scared of? What was I so worried about?
Yeah.
I mean, you went through that with the radio show, right?
Yes.
What was I so scared of? Today, we're talking about regrets. Do you have any? Do they even exist in your life? What have you learned from them? If you have a story to share, we want to hear it. If you have advice for our listeners, please call into the show and share it. 804-454-1366. You have been listening to The Great People Show.
I want something just like this. I want something just like this.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults, until their family stayed at the Omni homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Oh, I want something just like
Welcome back, folks, to the Great People Show. We are talking today about regrets. And it's a hot topic. It's been a hot topic on social media all week long. Do you have them? Do they exist? If you don't, why? We have our first caller calling into us from Richmond is Yetta. Yetta, good morning.
Hey, JJ.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
What's going on, buddy?
How are you?
I am fantastic as well.
Thanks for joining the
Nice
show
to
this
see you.
morning.
Thanks for asking me to call in and just chat for a few minutes.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
you had a great Facebook comment about regrets, specifically about hurting other people through your growth. Share more about that. Tell us about it. The
Yeah,
process
so
of healing.
and by the way, I love your questions. I think it's so great when people put posts like that on Facebook to get you thinking about something different other than like their dog walked for the first time or something,
Thank you.
So
That
what I thought
makes
was,
a difference.
Well, it was just really cool and refreshing to go, wow, so what is it that I regret? And, it took me all of a second to go, wow, what I regret is hurting people and a lot of people in the process of finding and healing myself. And that just kind of really just rung true for me.
Yeah.
That it's never our intention. It's honestly never, I don't believe it's ever our conscious intention to hurt people. And when we're on this journey of personal growth and self-discovery, we operate from the level of consciousness that we're at. And we most often have to look back to go, wow, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And we see the growth that we acquired. And everybody's journey is different. Some people grow and they don't have those regrets. That was not the case for me. Mine was operating from such a deep, deep place of pain and letting my ego just run over everybody and everything in the process. And in the moment, if you had just jerked me up by the collar, JJ, and said, Yetta, this is what you're doing, I would have said, you're crazy.
You didn't
Get out
see
of
it.
my way.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
could
But
see
I
it for
didn't see
yourself.
it because I wasn't at the level of awareness to see it. I was
Yeah.
operating at the level of awareness of the pain and the problems I was causing.
You were
Mhm.
Not at
you were
that
looking at
level of
yourself,
solution.
right? And I'm
Yeah.
curious if you since then have gone back to any of these folks to try to heal the relationship or heal your regret over hurting them.
Yes. And that's a great point to bring up. You can't just go, oh, I'm so sorry I hurt all these people and then just, move on with your life.
Yeah.
It definitely was part of the healing process for me to go back and connect with people with great humility and understanding they may not all want to connect.
Mhm.
And,
Good point.
especially, you know this, I was married for 20 years and when my marriage ended, it was hard to go back and have that conversation and say, I'm so sorry I hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this great idea that they're going to go, oh, that's great. We're good. Hug it out and move on. And, it doesn't always work that way. And what I found was it was a great way for me to explain what I believe. I think a lot of times when we go back and apologize, the apology is for us,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
necessarily for the other person. And going back and so, being really intentional on that conversation and starting those conversations and saying, I want to thank you for showing me parts of myself I couldn't see. Because what I learned and what I believe is that all relationships, one, are mirrors to our own soul.
Oh,
and
wow.
two,
It's
they're
very
our
powerful.
greatest teachers.
Yeah. And
Yeah, well, JJ, you work with people all the time and you deal with disgruntled people and people, complaining. And,
Yep.
and the truth is, this was a big lesson for me. I wasn't raised and I wasn't taught that people were giving me a gift in showing not necessarily positive, but also negative things back to me.
Uh-huh.
And I learned to change my perspective and say, wow, maybe what this person is doing to me is absolutely nothing about them, but it's showing me something that I need to heal inside of me.
But
Not
it's so
point out
difficult to
it's
see
happening
that, though.
to others.
Like, and when you're in the moment, it's like the absolute worst time that you can imagine trying to see that. And
Yeah. So what I would tell you is I never learned it in the moment. This is a lot of retrospect,
yeah,
a lot of carnage to look back and go, huh, there's a pattern here. Maybe it's me.
one of my favorite saying is the common denominator between you and all your bad relationships is you. It's hard to swallow
Yeah,
that pill.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And it just, that space of looking back and going, so what is it that this person was just showing me? It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
You know that. What we intention creates what we think creates what we feel creates what we behave and do. And instead of focusing at I'm just going to change this behavior,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, let me back all the way up and talk about, well, what is it that I'm intentioning here?
Yeah.
And when your ego's driving the show, what it's intentioning is separation.
In those moments, we try to justify it the other way. The question you posed probably a minute ago was, what is this person trying to show me? And it is so difficult. Like it hurts so bad to allow that weakness to be seen by ourselves and others that we start to spin it the other direction. We start to blame it on the other person. And then to your point, sometimes for me, it doesn't take long at all to regret that. Like that afternoon, I regret handling a situation wrong. In the situation you're bringing to the table, years later, I'm assuming it's years later, you're dealing with these regrets. So from that perspective, is the pain of the regret deeper because it took such a toll over a long period of time for you to acknowledge it? Does it like dig? Does it fester? Does it grow?
That's a great question also, JJ, because I do think, some people steamroll over it and they're good and, hey, thanks, and hug it out and move on. And that's not, in my opinion, real true growth and healing. But then there are also people that indulge in the emotionality and the victimization of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stay for too long. And so there's a balancing act in figuring out, okay, so maybe it's been years and maybe that wound will always be there and it'll never, ever be completely right. And I'm saying that in quotations as according to my definition of right.
Air quotes.
But but what I've learned is if you linger too long and you just keep playing with that pain like a Rubik's Cube, you can, because well, what if I would have done this? Well, what if I go back and do this? Well, how about if I, and really just being in a space of completely and totally present in this moment. And there's a payoff. Our brain actually, did you know there are reward systems in the brain for shame and guilt and blame?
Oh, wow.
So
no, I do now.
So we can actually get a payoff from being the victim of our own pain that we've inflicted on other people.
That's unbelievable.
So it is unbelievable. So to answer your question, do I still have moments where I wake up and go, oh my God, what in the world was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad I do, because it reminds me I never, ever, ever want to be that person again.
Well, how do you balance the toll it takes on you today, though? How do you take the positive out of that and be thankful for that, but still put it away long enough not to let it be that Rubik's Cube more?
Yeah, so I think it's all about working your program of just being mindful and present in the moment that you're in, because you know this, we can go back over, I've got 46 years of life I could go back over and do an archaeological dig on.
I thought it was 28.
Well, I love you. And it's true. And so you just have, it's a conscious awareness to say, I don't want those old limiting beliefs or those old scripts kicking in and going, yeah, that's right. You sure did a number on that person. You sure are, and I don't let the voices take over. And sometimes I have to call a friend. Remember that, what was that Millionaire TV show? You got your lifeline?
Yeah.
So, sometimes I call a friend. Sometimes I have a happy hour with you. Sometimes I read a book. Sometimes I go sit in silence. So what I've learned in this journey to healing is once you go, wow, I don't feel really good about what I did. You then start to say, well, what does make me feel good?
Yep.
And that internal emotional guidance system, no matter where I'm at, I always have access to, okay, well, if I say this or do this, this is how I'm going to feel. But if I say this or do this, this is how I'm going to feel.
And you're speaking to that emotional intelligence of self-awareness. Just it sounds like you are so self-aware of your emotions and how they're mapped back to these situations that if you let it go one more second, what's going to happen? So you just pull yourself out of that situation mentally. Yetta, thank you so much for
Yeah.
being on the show this morning. You've been I know, a great asset to our listeners. I know
Yetta,
people are going to join this.
I'm inspired. Like, I just want to leave the studio and I'm going to go be great today. I'm going to be a
You
great
two need
person.
to get together.
I know. I keep
Oh.
Yetta, you
hearing
need to
about
be
you and I
Kelsey's
haven't
mentor.
met you.
Yetta, become Kelsey's
Yeah,
mentor.
let's do that. JJ, you hook that up for us.
Well,
I definitely would love
She's
to
going
talk
back to
more
school
about it.
soon, so we need we've got some big announcements coming on the show because Kelsey's
Awesome.
decided to finish her degree. How dare her? So
That's fantastic.
so we'll have to do it soon. So
That's
thanks.
awesome.
Enjoy your day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you,
Yeah, you do
Yetta.
the same. Thanks, JJ.
Bye.
Make the world great.
You
All
got
right.
it.
Bye-bye.
Be great again. So we're talking about regrets, how powerful they are in our life. Should we have them? Should we not? And what we heard from Yetta was it's okay to have regrets as long as you're mapping it right back to what mistakes you've made to make sure you don't do it again. I love the analogy of letting that emotion be like playing with a Rubik's Cube.
Mhm.
And the funny part is I haven't played with a Rubik's Cube in probably 35 years. And I found one in my house because we bought one for my son and I got one side green. Holy smokes, without pulling the stickers off. It's fantastic. So anyway, this whole thing on regrets, we had this list earlier of other big things that we may regret. And one of them on this list is, I wish I would have been happier more and not taken life so seriously.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, I run into such serious people that get upset about things, even with me.
Mhm.
And I guess because I've become so confident in myself, I get into counselor mode, which is probably one of the worst things you could do with someone that's upset with you. Can we just talk about this? No, let me go. But literally, it's like I catch myself all the time. Think, why am I so wound up over this?
Mhm.
Just go outside and have some fun.
Yep.
Life is short. Another one is gone on more trips with family and friends. I'm a 1 week a year kind of guy, and it drives me crazy because I want to spend more away time with my family.
Mhm.
I can't make I have to make sure I'm not going to regret more away time with the family later on.
Mhm.
How's that been in your family? You're about ready to say something. Go for it.
I was just saying that you went to the homestead, so that was good. That's good that you took a
Can't
little
imagine
vacation.
why. For those of you that listen to the show,
However,
we like
y'all,
the homestead around
he
here.
did not discover a zest for zip lining. I did ask him that when he came back. That was my first question. JJ doesn't like heights.
Do you have a zest for zip lining? We may hear about that in just about 2.5 minutes.
Well, when you were talking about family, like kind of vacations and taking trips and stuff,
Yeah.
my parents talk about that all the time, especially my mom. She always says, I worked so hard when I was younger and I regret it. And I try to tell everybody that is younger, that have younger kids, like, don't work so much. It'll all work out. It'll be okay if you
Yeah.
don't. But we do stuff together a lot. Every Sunday we spend the day together on the boat, and we'll take like weekend trips to the beach or stuff like that. But we do try and spend a lot of time.
Yeah, weekend trips are powerful.
Yeah.
For that time.
Mm-hmm.
One more before we go to break. This one's big, folks. Letting my marriage break down. That's a number one regret of people. Letting the marriage break down. And I could see that. We have 2 small kids and they become the center of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't notice the little things that happen along the way that you can kind of cover up by having more time with your kids or, whatever it is. So not having those regrets. We're taking callers today. I know we have someone on hold right now we're going to get to when we come back from break. To be a part of today's show, 804-454-1366. To talk to us about your thoughts on regrets, maybe a regret you've had, how you've overcome it, something you want to get off your chest.
Come vent to us.
Come vent to us.
JJ will go into counselor mode.
In my summer cold, Barry White voice, come vent to us. You've been listening to The Great People Show.
Oh, I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults until their family stayed at the Omni homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni Homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Something just like
Every time our break music kicks in, I just go to the Night of the Roxbury guy. I'm banging my head. We were having some Saturday Night Live trivia contest here earlier. The Kelsey Meister,
Oh my Lord.
the Christenator, the Copy Man. No one in the studio knew the skit. I was shocked. The Ashinator. So today we're talking about regrets. And I'm going through this list of, it's a big list of regrets that people have. And if you're just tuning into the show, it's about making sure from this point forward that you're living a life that you will not regret later. And we found on social media, it wasn't as much about what I did do that I regret. It's what I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
We have an opportunity to do something different today. The next one on the list was taught my kids to do more stuff. And I don't know how you feel, but I don't realize how little I know about stuff until I try to teach my kids how to do it because they ask me to teach them. I'm like, I don't know. I had to learn to become better at fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know how to work on a car, even though I'd love to teach my kid how to do it. Unless you've seen a car these days, there's just a bunch of wires shooting out of it. Like, I'm not an electrician. I'm not an IT consultant. I can't fix a car. Are you kidding me? K2, get your mic ready. You ready? K2, what do you regret? Do you have regrets? What's your thoughts?
I'm not really a big regretting person,
Okay.
I guess. And my reason for that is that my whole life, I really didn't have a lot of choice in what happened to me.
Okay.
So
You
I
didn't
just
live in a
like,
box, did you?
no, I was a military kid growing up. So wherever we
Okay.
went wasn't really my choice. What we did wasn't really my choice. So I was aware of that fact. And because I was aware of it, I knew that I couldn't do anything about it to change it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of was like how I felt about everything, especially when then it came
So I'm
to my
curious,
own decisions.
Do you regret not breaking out of that more? Like pushing back?
Did you do it when you went to college?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Who's
Yeah.
asking the questions around here?
Me.
I mean, seriously. I've noticed a trend. Every time I let K2 get on the mic, or I should say ask her to get on the mic, y'all gang up. Like, I just cease to exist on the show. All right, I'm out of here. See y'all.
This is the Kelsey show now.
It is the Great People Kelsey show.
All right. So when you went to college,
we go.
did that change a lot more since you're on your own?
Yeah, a little bit because for me, when I went to college, it was such a big decision because it was the first time that I got to be like, I get to choose where I'm going to be for the next 4 years of my life.
Mhm.
Also, I was like 4 years in one place. I've never done that before.
Mhm.
So that was like a big thing too. And I think I wanted to go farther from home, but my parents were a little hesitant about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a little bit. But I'm going to grad school in Boston now, so I'm 9 hours away. So I think I'm finally making it far enough.
So
away
is
from
there
my family.
really a regret there at all? You said you didn't really have any.
I don't think it's really regrets. I mean, I guess that's how I feel about people too. I mean, you can't change things that are in the past, so why spend your present time worrying about things that happened already?
K2, can we get into a deep conversation here? Do you plan on getting married one day?
Yes.
Do you plan on having kids?
Yes.
So how do you think living that life that you lived in the military will affect how you raise your children?
Mm-hmm.
I think I always want to encourage them to make friends and cherish every moment that they
Mhm.
have with whoever it is,
Yeah.
because you never know how long that's going to last.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
See, that's what we're talking about here today around regrets, is taking what you've been through and being able to channel that into something positive that you have impact over right now today. We're going to go to our phone lines. We have another caller in here. We have Mike from Richmond. Mike, joining the Great People Show. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good, sir. How are you?
I am great. So,
I should know that.
thank you. So, Mike, tell us about your points of view or your thoughts on this whole having regrets thing.
Well, they're regrets because you look back on life. I'm getting up there in years, and you wonder what would have happened. But it's not so much what would have happened if I would have made a different choice. If I would have had more courage to go into business for myself, for example. I've been in food service, working for people or in the distribution side for essentially all of my career. And there were many opportunities to be my own boss and be my own owner. So I regret not having the courage to make that decision and go forward with it, because I think some of my peers that have done that some of them have failed, but most of them have done quite well. And when you get to be in your late 50s, you start looking at the time that you commit to different things in life. And one of those that I miss is the time to be able to commit to the family. So that's one of the big regrets, or maybe the only really regret I have, because I understand when you make decisions, you learn from them if they're bad, and you hopefully grow, as many people have commented. But I think I could have taken a lot of time in my later years if I'd have been in business for myself.
And how does that
to do
change
what I like?
how you parent, how you mentor and relate to your children?
Well, I have a younger child, 14, and it has really changed the way that I expose her to different things. She was born when I was working in a restaurant as a general manager in Maryland, and so she was exposed from a very early age of what it is to be a late working, all on call kind of thing. But what I've really tried to do, especially since she was 8 or 9, was to expose her to different opportunities. Luckily, she's a very bright individual and a good student, but I have enough siblings to realize that education is not, I shouldn't say education, but education with the sake of a degree is not always the best choice. You should be exposed to a lot of things. So I've tried to make sure she understands what the military is about and what kind of career that offers, all the way to somebody who works with their hands and computer programming, as well as, like I said, my siblings are in education, so
and because
they teach.
Because you spent so much time in that restaurant in food service, and it sounds like the regret may be over just time spent. And to play devil's advocate you here, Mike, maybe owning your own business would have taken more time away from your family. Who knows? I can speak to you from a small business owner. When you don't get paid by the hour, and you do have opportunities to do more and work more, you tend to just forget how much time you're spending. In regards to your daughter and exposing her to new things, or your relationship with her now, I think you said she's 14. Do you go above and beyond, or do you do anything special to do you feel like you have to make up for that, like the time? Does it cause you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I work for a company that has an office in Hampton, and this is one of the regrets I have, is that in the summer my wife works as well. So we farm her out to the grandparents down at Pocosin, which is 70 miles away. It's not that bad, but I make efforts to go down during the week. We went out kayaking yesterday, and believe me, I would not have done that without feeling like I was starving her, during the regular year without enough time. So I feel like I need to maybe overcompensate, but I take a lot of opportunities like that to do those things. And we take her to every travel sport game that she's on. We center vacations around her instead of us, and I think it's a benefit to her in some ways, maybe, but to me it feels like I have to do that because I can't work an 8 to 5 or whatever the
Mhm.
normal hours are nowadays.
And I just feel this because you're saying this, that and I'm not minimizing spending time with newborn children, but by missing some time years into their early ages may have been necessary to force you to pay attention to it as she becomes a 14-year-old young woman, because everything I hear about 14-year-old girls is you got to keep an eye on them.
Yep.
So-
Bless your heart, Mike. I know what I was like when I was 14.
Kelsey
so-
is not far removed from where your daughter
Well,
is.
I'm not.
I am. I'm lucky in that she's not gone the over the hill road yet and started chasing guys. Thank goodness.
Well, they have to be 32 to do that. My daughter, my 5-year-old's already been informed.
I agree.
I mean, before you even think about it, you have to be in your 30s. Mike, what advice would you give us and our listeners if you're at this pivotal moment? Maybe they were in your shoes 14 years ago, and they struggled with the idea of starting their own business or finding a job or working less to spend more time with their families. Like this is a way that you can pay it forward. What advice would you give us?
Well, if you have confidence in yourself, which I felt very confident that I could run it, but what I was afraid of and I regret is taking that leap because I did not feel that I could be my own boss and take on all the responsibilities. But as I've learned, because I'm still really close to this food service industry being a distributor, I see that there are many people who can handle it that I know that I have as much, if not more, on the ball than they do and some more insight. Go ahead and take that jump, because if you invest the years, as we were just talking about, the payback will be that you can write your own schedule in a lot of ways, which I know you do in some ways, because I know you spend a lot of time with your children. And that freedom, and maybe that's really the root of it, not that I would be rich or anything, but there would be that freedom to write your schedule. I was in sales for a while in food service, and even though I was out there hitting the doors a lot, I was able to work around those schedules, and I felt like I had more freedom then. And that's really what I'm trying to do. So I would suggest if somebody has an inkling to try something on their own, this is still a country where you have that opportunity to succeed, and it's a big opportunity if you have a passion for it.
Absolutely.
It
Mike,
won't feel like work.
Mike, thank you so much for joining the show this morning. Your words of encouragement to others, especially anybody that's struggling with making a big decision in their life and they're leaning towards no, maybe just lean towards yes so you don't regret it.
Yep.
We really appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for joining us on the Great People Show.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
You too.
Mike.
Mike was speaking around a lot of things that we heard on social media this week. As I mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of people regret not going to school. Patrick Morin said skipping West Point, which I've known Patrick for a while, and I had no idea he skipped West Point. We also heard from Catherine Brinkman, who said not applying to Yale. I was very moved by several of the comments that we had around no regrets. Jeff Kinsey said to be a better man than I was. So just in a general sense of just, I want to be better. I loved Gordy. He said, can you ever stop spending enough time with the ones you love or show them enough what they mean to you? Not introducing my girls to the outdoors earlier. It's true. I mean, we have many opportunities to regret not being able to spend enough time. We want to hear from you to be a part of the show. 804-454-1366. When we come back, we're going to take some more callers and keep talking about this whole regret thing. You've been listening to The Great People Show.
I want something just like this.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults, until their family stayed at the Omni Homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni Homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Oh, I want something just like
You are listening to The Great People Show, also known as Your Guide to Greatness. We are so thankful for our listeners. The growth of the show has been absolutely amazing. I'm just overwhelmed with how many people are tuning in. We're on 97.7 The Answer here in Richmond. Of course, we're streaming right now on Facebook Live, and then we can get the show on Apple's iTunes, iPod. I give it like 3 names now: Apple, iTunes, iPod, Apple Pod, podcasting.
We'll add something else.
We'll add
soon.
something else because Apple will flip it. And Google Play and Spreaker and Stitcher and TuneIn, because we know you can tell your Amazon Echo to Alexa, play the Great People Show podcast. And away she goes. And I've heard when I say that on the radio, multiple echoes of people listening to the show now hear the show twice because they're listening to it live. And Alexa's telling them what the show's all about. So we're talking about regrets today. Just a few more items on this list. I'm going to cover a couple more Facebook posts because they were really powerful. And then we have another caller coming in that we need to get them in before the show's over here today. Burying the hatchet. These were top requests. Top regrets that people had. Burying the hatchet with a family member or old friend.
Mm-hmm. Good
news is there's probably still time, except sometimes that regret comes from people that aren't with us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We heard that from Angie Wright and Matt Ray. Both said that their biggest regret in life was not saying I love you or letting a loved one know as much before they passed. That is incredibly difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really tough. Matt even talked about going back to his grandmother's grave just to try to make that better. So regrets will drive us emotionally to some very powerful levels. Another one was trusting the voice in the back of my head more. We heard that from Mike earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting that degree. Many people told us that on Facebook. This will be the last one on the list that I'll share because I think it is the most important, spending more time with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We can't talk about that enough on today's show, spending more time with the kids. Many people talked about not really having regrets, or the fact that having a regret has led me to greatness today because now I can focus in on it. I can make things better. I can make different decisions today. We have a caller that we're going to bring on the show here and talk to him a little bit about his perceptions of regrets. We have John from Williamsburg. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
I am great. That's the only answer we give on the show. We're great
I don't
people
doubt
having
that.
great times. Thanks
Absolutely.
for joining us.
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. So tell us about this whole regret thing. Do you have regrets? Do you not have regrets? What's your point of view?
Yes, I mean, there are regrets, and I think that from the post comment was the regret is that I don't maximize the day or maximize an opportunity that was afforded me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not like I have the regrets every single day, but I pull back on those experiences that that I just kind of left out there, and I put myself in a position to not do that again, really.
Yeah. You said it doesn't happen every day, but obviously you're doing some sort of reflection.
Sure.
On a regular basis of did I get everything done that I could do today? Not from like a to-do list, I'm sure, like work. That's the easy part. But did I miss anything? Did I miss anybody? Did I miss an opportunity with my kids? I mean, is Is that what you go through?
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's anything from a workout to a team meeting to an opportunity for a coaching session with a subordinate, or even the family side with the kids, with the wife. It's that before you go to sleep that night, it's did you take full advantage of that opportunity to give everything that you're fully capable of giving. And it's very easy to fall in the trap of not doing that. To get complacent, to kind of mail it in, and then say to yourself, well, I got tomorrow. Let's try it again tomorrow and see how it goes. But you might have lost an opportunity that you're never going to see again. So that's what's all about, is personal maximization, and at the end of the day, make sure that I can sleep at night knowing I gave it everything I got.
And I'm curious if there's a lesson here and something you can do in the morning before the day starts, based on what didn't happen yesterday. Do you do that?
I do. I try to frame the day up every morning. I try to get up as early as I possibly can. I got 2 kids now, so sleep is a premium these days. But I try to get up as early as I can and kind of set the day up to say, this is how we ended it, and this is what we're going to do today to make sure that we are maximizing our opportunities.
So what I hear you saying is you have to stay on top of it.
You do. You do.
If you stay on top of it every single day, there's a great chance that you're not going to have big regrets later on.
That's right. Yeah, it is an everyday. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a mindset of setting things into a micro and macro level of your day, your month, or year, or even just this call right now. I mean, this is a great opportunity to get to catch up with you. I haven't seen you in quite a while, and I want to make sure when we're done with this call, I can say that I did what I needed to do and got it done.
Yeah. Do you have any long-term regrets, like things that before you, because you're talking from a rock solid position, John. But if you're like me, you weren't as rock solid earlier in your years. Is there anything that drove you, like any kind of big regrets that maybe drove you to be this kind of person today?
No, absolutely. I think about it. I probably would say regularly. I think about my extremely short collegiate lacrosse career, and I know that's something we've talked about before. And and when I didn't make the team the second year, there was a lot of this excuse making to why it didn't happen, and as you mature, I was able to accept, and very humbly able to accept, that it's because I didn't give it what I needed to give it. And I didn't put in the effort that it needed. I didn't respect it the way it needed to be respected, and and I didn't ultimately continue something I really was passionate about.
In that situation, you probably at some point realized, I could have given more on the field. I could have worked hard. And can I assume that it's because you had more confidence in yourself than, like, you were kind of taking things for granted? Like, oh, I'm good. I'll just show up. I'll just do my thing. And, I'll be great.
100% was the fallen victim into coming in from a small town where you think you're the stud, and then you're surrounded by 40 studs, and you're like stud, the last John. Man on. Well, maybe a little bit back then, but obviously it wasn't stud enough. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then it grows from there. And I start looking about my college experience, and I look at, how there's some classes that maybe I mailed it in, or I just didn't really give it all that I had, and now that I got 2 kids that, I'm committed to 100% putting them in a path that, they're going to do the right thing and want to, again, maximize their opportunities, to know that if you don't, you might not ever have that opportunity again.
Gone. Is there something that you catch yourself with today with your children where you have to psychologically say, I'm not giving it right now. I got to force myself to go do this. Is there anything around specifically the children where you have to get your mind around it and push yourself to give more?
JJ, it's an everyday thing that I think about with my kids, is that just this morning, I needed to get out the door. I needed to get in the office, and, my oldest was asking me to read a couple pages of a book that he's obsessed with right now. And it had been very easy to say, look, I got to get in the office, and that's just that wasn't the case. I mean, you got to shut it down. You got to take the time. You got to, make sure, because that little thing could impression him to say that, it's okay to mail it in once in a while.
Yeah.
And I could have been late a few minutes. It's okay. Yeah. Him getting that time to realize that this is what's important. Let's set aside time. Let's create a little mini goal. Let's accomplish that goal, and let's move on to the next one. There's a growth opportunity for him, and he's, at 3 years old. So it really is a daily practice to, to say to yourself that you got to maximize that opportunity, because it's never coming back. And I know it's kind of cliche and it's easy to say that, but you can look back, every one of us can look back to an opportunity that we had that we squandered it, or we just didn't give it all we had.
Yeah. Well, and that has to drive you and us and all of us forward in the next better decision, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've heard from a couple callers already, or one caller or earlier, that says the biggest regret he has is better time with his children. And it was based on work. He just got consumed with work. And I know with what you do, you could easily consume yourself with work.
Yeah.
And being, well, I'll just let my wife take care of it, or they'll take them over here, or they'll take them over there. And then you turn around and you're like, man, how did you grow 6 inches?
Right.
When did you learn those words? and then when the wife says, oh, he's been using those words for weeks, you're like, all right, gut check. Gut check.
It is. I mean, there's obviously a priority element to this, but you just got to put it in the list in order, and then make sure you're getting after it.
I'm curious how many people actually create a list of priorities. How many sit down and write a list of, this is my number one priority in life. No matter what happens today, this is my number one priority. This is my number 2, and this is my number 3. And I got to confess, I'm sitting here thinking, this is a great idea. I should do that.
Yeah.
Because I think we always want to say, well, of course my kids are first. Of course my wife is first. Of course God is first. Of course, if you're in the military, my country's, whatever it is, right? And, people in the military, they have their own formal ranking of first, second, third. That's kind of what they do in the military. But how many of us actually sit down and do that in writing and post it somewhere?
Right.
That's very powerful.
Good point.
And I'm sure, John, you've already done that, right?
There is an element of some type of journaling in the morning to set the framework for what we're going to accomplish today.
Yeah.
Everything from a dietary to a physical fitness to a professional goal to the family element. Now it's not some grandiose list that I'm scratching off and I feel great about it. Just it creates a laser focus on what is really important to you at that time. I mean, priorities are going to change. You're going to have to sacrifice time, but understand there's a cost associated or a regret associated. But it's just that constant discipline to know that this is how it needs to work. And it's just creating that framework and getting it done.
Amen. John, thank you so much for joining the show today, man. You've been a valuable asset because of this interview with John and the call from John. We are all going to go make our priorities in life and put them on the wall. Thanks, John. See you, buddy.
Thank you. Take care. See you. Bye.
We've been talking about regrets today. And I'm actually feeling pretty encouraged that I haven't screwed up too much in life, and that everything that I've done that was a really, really bad decision, probably one of my bigger regrets was what we heard from Mike earlier, is not having more courage in life earlier. And I noticed that from Kelsey, people your age, people in their early 20s, mid 20s, and maybe it's because of the internet and accessibility to things that I don't know, is it easier to take risks, do you think? I mean, you don't know because, you haven't lived my life and I haven't lived yours, but it just seems like if you're in your early 20s, there's just less things to screw up if you take these risks.
I think it depends on where you're at in your life. And obviously everybody's case is different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like right now being a senior in college, there is some things that I could screw up that could that can mess up everything that I've done the past 3 years.
Well, I'm glad you're aware of it.
Yes.
So here we have, to wrap up our show today on regrets, our motivational monologue. When we make a decision resulting in an ugly aftermath, we refine what we do want in our life. We will make no mistakes. It reminds us of our weaknesses and develop strengths. We only will have experiences. That's it. That's all we get, are experiences. As we live and learn from mistakes and failures, the regrets we have will change the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, and the way we take advantage of doing the things that are right. We will judge others less, become kinder, and really appreciate where we are in life and who we've become through this process. We want to thank you for joining the Great People Show. Because whoever you are, wherever you are in life, just know that you are on your way to greatness.